Hi, guys. Thanks for tuning in. It's been a while, of course. No surprise there. I just want to let you know we have a great special guest coming up here. We have Rory, who is my casting director on this film, and she's going to be giving us some insight on the entire casting process for not only this movie, but movies in general. Um, for some actors out there, this could be really insightful. For other directors and producers out there, this will also be insightful. So, yeah, let me know what you think. So, you can introduce yourself if you like.
Okay. Hi, my name is Rory Schleifstein.
And where do you work?
I work at Ulrich Dawson Kritzer Casting.
Awesome. And so, how have you done a lot of indie film casting before, or is it mostly TV?
It's been mostly TV, but I've done a few small indie features.
Do you find that indies and TV are very different when it comes to casting?
No,
Pretty much the same.
it's basically, I think all casting is basically the same. It's just the format in which you're going to do it all.
Hmm. So, would you say it's like, because I mean, I only know from the indies that you've done for me, which have been great.
Yes.
You always are so professional, which is why I love it so much. But I know for this one, there's been like a lot of time in between when we first initially started casting and then
Mhm.
when offers went out. Does it typically take that long, or is it really just depend on the project?
It depends on the project, but also features are different than shorts, and typically with features you have a lot of time in between when you start and when you shoot, and you know when you decide to put your offers out and stuff.
When do you think is a good time for like an indie producer, an indie director to bring on a casting director, especially as you know how difficult it is to attach name talent, which is kind of imperative for indie features at least. How early do you think that they should bring them on in the process?
I think that probably how we did it with about 3 to 4 months ahead of time is good, but it's also important to really know when your dates are going to be and to know if you're flexible at all, because
Right.
I think that unless you know what your schedule is going to be, it's kind of hard to really lock somebody down.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Absolutely. Well, especially too, because like when you're casting, for any film really, but in our case, we've got kids. So we've got name talent, but then you've got auditions for kids and stuff too. And then, I mean, we've kind of had a ballpark of the dates for a while. So at least they only changed like in a couple weeks. But yeah, it's really, really important to lock down those dates for sure and have people on ahead of time. Um, what would you say? I don't know what other, maybe it's with my film as well, but what are some common mistakes you find like indie producers and directors making, or even misconceptions with casting that you find that you kind of always have to like enlighten producers and directors about when it comes to the casting process?
Funny. I mean, I guess it's more about like the feasibility of things, feasibility of time, and also, I guess, realizing maybe where you stand for like as far as like trying to get people to do it.
Hmm.
Yeah. I
Okay.
mean, I don't feel like that's too much enlightening though. I feel like it's just kind of like, I guess, educating.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Because I find, I mean, even just in this process in general, like we've been doing these vlogs, or people have like commented or texted us or emailed us and being like, oh wow, I had no idea about this, or I had no idea about that. And I find casting is always something that people are like, they always have their idea. People just always think they know about casting. It's so funny, like, oh, I think this person would be great for this, or you should just hire or cast this person. But there's so much more to it than that. There's so much more like nuance about it. So I only know from my experience, but do you have anything to say on that from your own?
No, I just think it always, no matter how long you think it's going to take longer.
Yeah, that's a really, really good point for sure. What would you say was the coolest part, or maybe, 'cause I don't know how many kids that you've worked with before, but like, what would you say is the most cool or like surprising part of pre-reading and auditioning the kids for this?
Um, I like working with kids. I find them interesting. I find them fun, really talented. interesting, like little people. And
Yeah.
I think that the young person that we ended up have chosen to go with, I
Hmm.
think that she's insanely talented. And I do think that had I been a betting person, I probably would have bet that we would cast her from the first time she came in to read,
Mm.
but I think that you can kind of tell, um, be it kids, adults, anything, you can kind of tell. You can kind of tell no matter who it is, when it is, if you're going to find somebody that kind of fits the role, that
Right.
that's who is going to be it, regardless of how long it takes in between like point A and point B. Um, but I don't know. I'm really happy with our little person. She's amazing, and I'm
Me
excited.
too. Me too. I think it's a really good point. I think you do really know. Do you find that, like with directors and producers or whoever's, involved, but when they have their person that they're set on, or the person that they think like, oh, I think it's this girl,
Mhm.
throughout the casting or callback process, 9 times out of 10, do they always stick with, is it turn out that that's the person, or do they change their
They
mind
can change
typically?
their mind. They can
Yeah.
change their mind. Yeah. I find like if you go too long past when you have like a choice because you're looking for somebody else that's better,
Hmm.
um, you can get into two problems. You can get into one is that you don't find anyone that's better. Um, and then the reason that you've been looking is because somebody amongst the group does not feel that they're your choice.
Hmm.
And so then you're stuck in a predicament where you have half the group feeling one way and half the group feeling another. Um, and then the other predicament you can get into is that then you can find too many other people that you like, and then you don't have a clear choice in either for for anything.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I think that's a really good point. Like for people who are just starting out as producers, directors, maybe they've never hired a casting director before. They've cast everything themselves. What, and because some people just probably don't know, they're like, what is the role of the casting director? Do they do the actual casting, or so what, and who actually would make the casting decision? It's up to the producer and director in our case, but for people who don't know, um, what
Yeah.
can they expect from a casting director?
Well, and so basically, I think in any sort of film situation, it depends upon. I always say it depends upon whose opinion means the most.
Hmm.
And that is whose opinion means the most.
Right.
But as far as like why you hire a casting director, you hire a casting director in order to help you find people that you wouldn't normally find. Like, you want to be opened up to meeting new people. You want to, your friends are great, but you want to cast a wider net sometimes.
Hmm.
And, you know, try and find people that are really right for your roles.
Hmm.
And that's why you hire a casting director to reach out to the other areas in order to find people. Like, because anyone can have their friends come and do parts in their movie and then it'll be good, but maybe they're not going to be the best the best fit for whatever your role is,
Right.
despite how great an actor they might be.
Hmm.
um it's great to open up to different ethnicities and to try and find different aspects of the community which you wouldn't have known otherwise. um and as far as who makes the decisions, well, I would say in indie features, it is the director, producer, writer. I mean, I would assume, again, whoever's opinion means the most, and whoever makes the decisions, that's who
Yes.
gets to make the decisions.
So when a director or producer comes to you, like
Uh-huh.
in my case, came to you like, okay, these are the roles I'm looking for. That process looks like, you read the script or you get a breakdown of the characters. What does the process look like between me bringing you on and then the first round of auditions?
The first round of auditions that I did, or the first round of
Yes.
auditions that we did with each other?
Oh, that we did with each other, right? That's a
Okay.
good point.
Okay, so basically, a lot of times, in our case, because we're doing kids, looking for kids, I read a ton of kids before I brought you the few that we brought. Um, you know, just because the whole point of a casting director is to weed through the submissions, to go through them, to take a second and really think about what the role is and who I would like you to see. I don't want to bring you somebody who I don't think is necessarily going to be the best representation of the role. I don't, and I know what, and I could be wrong. Sometimes, I don't know. People, casting directors nobody knows everything, but we bring you options, and hopefully that there's somebody within those options that, you like, and you just kind of take it from there. But as far as our situation went, I did a bunch of pre-reads, of reading kids, spent, probably about 12 hours reading kids, and then from there took those callbacks and did that was their first call. So the kids, by the time we finished, they had like probably 2 to 3 auditions.
Pretty awesome.
And so their first callback was just coming back with you, and then the second one was when we did the very last one we had that was more in depth, sort of in, they kind of get to know us.
Yeah. And what was great too, and I think is happening more and more, is that we also accepted self-tape auditions, which was really, really cool. And that's totally changed the game, I think, for people too, if they can't necessarily afford a casting director, or they can afford a casting director but can't afford a space. Self-tape auditions have been really great for people with that option as well. So we can finish it up here because I don't want to take up too much of your time. What's your favorite thing about casting? What got you into casting and all of that good stuff?
My favorite thing about casting is
Or the dog toy, sorry.
all good. I'm not sure even where to look. I'm like,
Yeah. It's constantly dogs like moving my chair and like
my eyes are just darting all over the place. My favorite thing about casting is I love it when the right person gets the role. And I like the process of it. The way I got into casting is actually, and I think you know this, but I used to babysit for one of the partners, and I just interned for him, and I really learned a love of actors and a love of like basically just, I don't know. I find casting fun.
That's awesome.
And I enjoy the readings. I don't really enjoy the paperwork, but it's all part of it. I really just love when you get to hire somebody because everyone gets so excited and it's fun. But basically, you want to do something that's fun.
It really is fun. And what I found, what was that?
Where I try to do things that are fun.
Yeah, exactly. I know casting is just so frustrating sometimes, but I will say the coolest thing about casting is it's the part of the process, at least of putting the movie together, that feels like the most real. Because, you can put all the pieces together as far as like logistic stuff, put this team member on, that team member on. But when you have your like actors come in and read for the first time, like the script, it's actually the first time you hear, for me, it was the first time I've actually heard it acted out by kids, out loud. So it's really the first time that you can be like, oh wow, we're doing a movie. So that's, and when you cast those roles, and it's like a huge relief because it's like you got your people that are acting in it now. It's not just a bunch of people behind the camera with nothing to shoot. We actually have things in front of the camera now, so it's great. Rory, thanks so much for doing this. I appreciate you taking the time. Have a great rest of your day. I'll let you know when this is up and going.
Awesome. Thanks, Paulina.